Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to the circus.
Well, that's right, Johnny. The circus. Well, kind of the circus. It's more of an amusement park. We're going to Coney Island to talk about Coney Island to talk about one of their famous exhibits that was there, during the turn of the century. And by turn of the century, I mean the turn of the last one.
Or,
the 1900s, not the
not the
2000s.
early 2000s. Yeah. Because we, as old folks, have still not acknowledged that we're into the 21st century. We're still living in that 20th century here.
Yeah, we're still there. And I thought, with all the things going on in the world, what better way to talk about our nation's healthcare system than by talking about our nation's early healthcare system with premature babies, Johnny, when we use them.
No, Tom, wait, hold up. We were talking about Coney Island, not healthcare and preemie babies.
Yeah. Well, we took our preemie babies because we had no system of healthcare for them, and we put them as an exhibit in an amusement park for our own entertainment.
Right. I forgot that freak shows used to exist. Yes. And I imagine this was a portion of a look at a weird human body of some sort.
That's right, Johnny. It is a freak show of sorts where believe it or not, in at least in the United States, the first incubators or the use or the idea of incubators was all for our own amusement, because our idea of treatment to preemies was good luck.
Okay, so hold on. So we're gonna learn today what invented the advent of incubators and how to keep preemie babies alive longer.
Yes.
And we did that for money.
Yes. Yep. Doing the right thing for all the right reasons, Johnny. So we're going to start the story off. We're going to have to go all the way back to the late 1800s to Paris, France, where a doctor by the name of Pierre Constant Boudin was becoming a pioneer in prenatal medicine.
Okay.
So he promoted the idea of better nutrition for premature babies, including focusing on breast milk as opposed to using, cow's milk or any kind of the early formulas that were around. Yeah. Using wet nurses when mothers couldn't, because a lot of times with premature babies, the mother wasn't yet ready to start producing milk. So, got to come from somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, well, and that's where the human milk versus supplementing with a cow's milk or goat's milk or whatever else came into play. They would pump from presumably other mothers.
Well, actually, not even just pumping. You're just having
straight up. We're going to feed your baby now. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's still a position that exists today. But there are wet nurses where there are women who are breastfeeding, able to breastfeed, and then they will feed, kind of in a morbid way, kind of like our cows that we have, where as long as you just keep milking them, they're gonna.
Yeah, they'll keep producing. And there are midwives and things like that. Yeah, wet nurses, and there are people that will have a baby and they will just continue to pump.
Yeah, sell their breast milk. Yeah.
Provide milk for people who, my wife we weren't able to breastfeed because she was unable to produce enough. And so if we needed to have, human milk, we would have to rely on somebody else pumping and creating that for us.
Yep. So he also used small feeding tubes known as gavage, which it's pretty. It was one of the foundings of doing this, but it's kind of force feeding with not a feeding tube that you inject into the belly, but actually just kind of put down the throat. Sounds a little mean, but hey.
So I did something actually. It probably came from this similar, but my wife wasn't producing, and we were still trying to breastfeed. Where they told me I took a syringe basically and filled it with either breast milk or formula or whatever, and would put a little tube and then let my son suck on my finger with a tube right next to it. So he was actually sucking out the formula or whatever, and was able to learn the correct motions and everything of that.
Yes.
So that's probably something that
very similar
came from this idea.
These early ideas, yep. And most importantly, though, he's going to attempt to care for these children as opposed to just throwing them away. Because most doctors at that point were, the actual treatment for preemies at this time was wrap them, swaddle them up in a blanket and put them close to the fire and hope for the best.
Right. I mean, they didn't know what to do with them. There was no treatment. I mean, I'm guessing the survival rate had to have been
next to nothing.
5%, 2%, something like that. And so if you had a preemie baby, it was pretty much short of just straight up murdering your baby, just make them warm while they slowly die from whatever complications.
Starvation, lack of air,
all the different complications that we're still running into, even with modern
with modern NICUs. But yeah, this is pre-NICU. But Pierre was like, we can do better than this, and is one of the first trying to attempt to create neonatal units. But one of his students, and I'm putting that in quotes here, was a man by the name of Michael Cohen, who had changed his name to Martin Arthur Coney to hide his Jewish-German descent, because this is the late 1800s, early 1900s, where that wasn't something you really wanted to be.
Right, yeah.
In Germany.
We would find out why 30 years later or so.
Yeah. Now, allegedly, Mr. Coney was a medical student, but there is absolutely zero evidence to suggest that he attended a medical school, let alone graduated from one.
Wait, not even attended? He didn't. He just told this guy, "I'm a medical student and want to be a part of some program." And presumably, our French friend was like, "Okay, I need hands and help and."
We do know that he did apprentice under Pierre, but there's absolutely no record of him ever attending any medical school anywhere inside Europe or the United States. He would always claim that he was a doctor, and even when he immigrated to the United States, he's like, I'm a doctor, but it's you don't know because I went to school in Germany, a little small school. You wouldn't have known about it. It's fine.
No, my girlfriend's out of town. She'd tell you though. She lives in Canada.
But Coney would intern under Pierre Boudin, and he would hold a medical license in Europe, allegedly, which he didn't. And while interning underneath Boudin, as his mentor, there was a Dr. Tarnier, who was messing with the idea of using a chicken incubator to incubate these premature babies. Now, to fill this idea of how crazy it is, a chicken incubator at this time wasn't a big light bulb that kept everything warm like we think of nowadays. It was a wood box.
Yeah.
That had 2 layers in it. The bottom layer, you would fill a pan with water, and then in the top layer, you would put the eggs, wrapped up in blankets or whatever.
Sure.
You would then put that box over oil lamps, which would heat the water, creating steam and humidity, which I see no way that could ever go wrong, putting a baby in, and then, maybe getting it a bit too hot, and then boiling said baby.
No. That would be nonsense and ridiculous. But, essentially, the principle is there, though, because, again, this is turn-of-the-century stuff, and light bulbs, while existent at this time, were rare, right?
This is.
And so
the medical community looked at Dr. Tarnier and was like, yeah, that's stupid. Don't do that.
Don't put a baby on a box on top of boiling water?
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay, but all right, I get where they're coming from. That seems a little outlandish, but at the same time, the alternative is literally swaddling up and sitting next to a fire.
Yes. Also doesn't seem very safe.
Come on. What? He's working towards a solution. He's trying here, folks. He's doing his best.
And Dr. Tarnier is going to be the first doctor to actually be credited with the use of an incubator with premature babies.
In any case,
to drum up support for the incubator idea, Coney and Boudin went to Berlin's Great Industrial Exposition in 1896 and held an exhibit called Boudin's Kinderbrunstanstalt. Child hatchery in German. I can't speak German.
There it is.
Kinderbrunstanstalt.
Come on, Tommy, didn't you take German in college?
I did.
Where's this Hanover education getting you now? Nowhere. Very much. You can't even pronounce simple German words like Bundeskarkarat.
It's like a 30-letter word. It's ridiculous. It's what the Germans do. They take everything and they fucking smash it together.
Yeah, no. They don't have... they just... Everything's a single word.
Yes.
You just connect them.
And this exhibit, Johnny, it was a resounding success, so much so that Boudin was invited to host another one for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee celebration in London in 1897.
Now, what exactly did this entail? What was he doing at these? Why was it...
He put a bunch of babies in incubators on display and went, look at the premature babies. Look, they're still alive.
So he had his, basically, I don't know, I'm picturing just a large wooden box type.
Yes, with glass sides.
With a baby on the top. Right?
Yes.
And maybe I would imagine
I'll put a picture of the early one up there.
But so he set those up. He said, "Look at this, and here we're going, and this is my thing." And now, were these babies doing well in the incubator?
Yes. Yeah. They were, I mean,
okay.
as well as a premature baby could do. Yeah, they were doing
naturally,
well.
Especially at turn of the century. And so everybody loved looking at these tiny babies so much that the Queen called him up.
Yeah, the Queen
said,
for her
"Can
jubilee.
I please look at these tiny babies?"
Yes, for her celebration was like, "I want to look at these tiny babies. Please bring me these tiny babies."
Okay, all right, and there we are. So.
Yeah, there we are. Coney and Boudin suggested using the exhibit to promote the idea for the new treatment. So Boudin takes this exhibition onto the road into the United States.
He's doing a trade show here. He's bringing his new double-paned windows to the United States and saying, "Look at this! Hey, you can treat your children like chickens and maybe let them live instead of dying after a week or whatever."
In 1898, he's going to hold his first exhibition in the Trans-Mississippi International Exhibition in Omaha, and then he goes around the world, traveling the country from local fairs to local fairs. So imagine going to your fair. It's fair time this week.
It's county fair, yeah.
It's county fair time.
Yeah.
So imagine going to a county fair and just seeing premature babies.
I mean, what a treat, right? Like, have you ever seen a baby so small, Tommy? At that, you go from looking at the prize-winning hogs that are too fat to walk, and the cows that have the great big udders and best milk of the show or whatever, and then look, tiny humans that may or may not live, but gosh, are they small. So
God, and imagine a NICU unit at your local county fair where it's like a billion fucking. Because I always remember every time
they don't need the lamps underneath.
It's so sweltering hot. Yeah.
You just incubate them in a hot box basically, and say good luck. It is the equivalent today of leaving your newborn baby inside of your car.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. He would charge 25 cents. He would charge 25 cents for his admission. His babies came from
look.
Yeah, to look. Yeah, charge 25 cents to look. His babies came from desperate parents who were looking for any kind of medical treatment for a world that had abandoned them. And I mean, I can't blame the parents because, like, you just had this baby, you wanted to survive, and you go to the hospital and they're like, "Good luck." So this is a person saying, "I can help you." You're gonna go to the miracle salesman. You're gonna go to the snake oil salesman.
This is it's sort of a snake oil salesman, but not really. Like
it actually is working
because he's getting results, right? Like
he is, and we'll get there in a second here. His fair tour.
Right, hold on, I'm looking up. I looked up real quick. So it would be essentially $8 to $9 today.
Yes, yeah.
To take a look at these premature babies, and so basically a sideshow couldn't have existed today on account of the internet. Get on the internet and you can see all the.
Yeah, that's why sideshows don't exist anymore. Is the internet pretty much killed them all.
Well, yeah, it's not that they don't exist. Just how different all humans were, and so like a large woman or a man who is super fat or hairy or whatever else they had in these freak shows. They're like, oh wait, hold up. There's actually people like this just everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's not that interesting anymore, and also a little bit offensive. A little bit of that, a little bit of maybe not make natural disabilities or whatever the case may be.
Only a sculpture offensive.
A
Johnny.
Circus act, sideshow, what have you.
His fair tour is actually going to take him to the World's Fair in New York in 1901.
That was big time then, right? That was
big time. Yeah, that was. If you made it to the World's Fair, you've got a show, and you can I bet he raked in so many damn quarters that however long the World's Fair lasts, a week. I don't know how long they lasted. We should do an episode at some point on World's Fair and the ridiculousness that those were. But in any case,
I'll note it.
The traveling show, he started to grow concerned about the sanitation. Like, you're moving from place to place. You got to set up a tent or set up an exhibition hall. And
it turns out Coney life is not the most sanitary life. And when you're dealing with children who have likely compromised immune systems, not fully developed, and are susceptible to all sorts of disease, that's probably not the best thing to do, is travel around with them. And I would guess incubators in the back of trucks.
Yeah, I imagine.
Because how else are you going to do it?
he is going to create dedicated facilities. The two most famous are in Coney Island in New York. And then he's also going to have one down in Atlanta, Georgia.
So three sites essentially that are more permanent, or
well, these are actual permanent. These are facilities. He's got the most famous one being
so that would be
Island.
the closest that we have at this point to actually setting up prenatal care.
Yeah, a NICU
locations,
unit,
hospitals, everything.
Yeah.
But he's still selling tickets. To check them out and take a look at this freak of a baby, premature, tiny thing. While we try to save it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
so
he does
get work.
It's tough.
It's tough. He does work with a legit doctor by the name of Julius Hess, who together sets up a sterile environment with actual nurses. They emphasize appropriate nutrition and utilize wet nurses that were on a very strict nutrition diet themselves. So at Coney Island, you're open to all kinds of unhealthy foods. There's sodas, there's cotton candies, there's these snowy cones.
Yeah, everything that your children survive on now, all the processed saturated shit, everything that you buy your children now basically is what they're trying to warn against.
Yes. So
yeah, and you and me both. I'm not on a high horse here, by the way. Yeah, we do that shit too. It's just the way America is. But yeah, I'm just laying the groundwork.
And they were on this strict nutrition diet, so much so, in fact, that smoking a cigarette, drinking a drink of alcohol, eating a hot dog, or even drinking a can of Coke would lead to instant termination.
Now, hold up. Smoking cigarettes in the early 1900s, they were like, no, you can't do that? Because I've seen ads from the early 1900s.
Where it's like healthy?
Later. About how this is mom's #1 recommended cigarette, or I smoke this and I feel so clean and great because I'm injecting my body with carcinogens or whatever.
Yep.
But even then they're like, all right, well,
nope,
listen,
can't do that.
For if you're going to be nursing these babies, you have to no nicotine, no alcohol, no sugars, no nothing.
Yep.
They were ahead of their time.
The incubators were upgraded to include automatic temperature and humidity control, so that way you didn't have to have somebody constantly monitoring the box.
Holy shit, that type of thing, that's up there for that time, right? That's automatic anything at that point was wild.
Pretty good.
And let me remind you, they're doing this so that they can make maximum money on these tiny babies. Not because, maybe partially, but not totally, because this is the best thing for the babies to survive. This was a money-making endeavor.
Yeah, it's definitely a sideshow.
From the beginning.
To make money, yes. The children were fed every 2 hours. The only odd thing by today's standards in form of, when we look at a NICU unit, these sideshow facilities versus a NICU, the nurses were actually encouraged to have as much physical contact as they could with the children, which is a little odd by today's standards because that physical contact could insert disease and all that other fun stuff. Now, his idea here was that they needed that intimate, skin.
Yeah, well, and they weren't aware back then of all the different types of viruses, bacteria, everything else. They were literally starting from scratch. So, how can we extend these babies' lives to make the most money, but also save them eventually? But yeah, it wasn't the same as it is today, where we have an understanding of viruses, disease, and everything else. It was more of they need motherhood, contact, feedings, everything else. So do that, make that contact, do what you need to do, and raise this little preemie baby.
If that was the worst that they were doing, sure, by all means. Now, there was a little bit of profiteering. We can't talk about this without talking about the profiteering and the sideshows. So if you know anything about early sideshows, which we'll do an episode on this too, the freaks weren't always as freakish as they really were made to look. So, like the bearded lady, sometimes some facial hair was glued onto her. The incredibly strong man, sometimes he wasn't actually lifting 400 pounds or whatever it was.
The weights were a little bit
fudged. In case of premature babies, he liked to dress them in clothing 2 to 3 times too big to overemphasize just how tiny they were.
Oh, so, sure, yeah. Well, also, it's easier to find clothing that's 2 to 3 times too big. And if you have to make it all, they're not running out to the preemie shop
it doesn't exist,
to buy clothes, because guess what? At that time, your preemie died.
Now, the cost to raise a single baby in one of these facilities was $15 a day, or a little over $400 a day, so way better than our American healthcare system is nowadays.
Oh, man, what a steal.
All of which were...
Spend a couple of days in a hospital. See how much that runs you.
So all of this, including the cost of the nurses' salaries, the cost of the wet nurses' salaries, the incubators themselves, the power, everything, all wrapped up, $15 a day per kid. All that was paid for by admission tickets. The parents, free of charge. This is
okay. So
Shriners
this was my
Hospital.
question. Yeah, how on earth did they get these babies? I assume it was mothers
Desperate
and fathers who birthed the preemie baby, and they're like, well, there's literally no other option for us, so we will give you our baby for this care until it's, either healthy or dead, essentially.
Yeah, one of the two.
Because it's always one of the two. And then they would get that back, and the circus, carnival,
circus doesn't own the babies.
Was fine with that, because they're like, yes, we make our money to pay for all of this prenatal care, everything else. We make that and more. And so it was a loaner program.
Yeah, it's a loaner program, and there's always going to be premature babies.
Jesus.
In any case, like I said, he ran the 2 most famous clinics at Coney Island and one in Atlantic City. Sorry, Atlantic City. I think I might have said Atlanta earlier. Atlantic City. Both all
right, so hold up. Coney Island is where?
New York, I believe.
Atlantic. Yeah. No,
City.
not Atlantic.
Atlantic
City is in
Atlantic City.
Atlanta?
Probably.
Tommy, come on.
Atlantic City?
Come on.
Come on. I don't know geography.
All right, it's in New Jersey. Good God, Tommy.
Oh my God!
Super
so they're
Circus. Visit AC. Do AC.
So they're both in New York, basically. You got New Jersey.
So yeah, we're out on the Northeast Coast, which makes sense. Turn of the century.
Yeah, that's where the big cities are. Yep. I totally screwed up earlier. But well, anyways.
What are you gonna do? Hey, if you didn't watch this long, sorry for the misinformation.
In any case,
you're gonna hear that warning about because you didn't watch.
They were both named the Infantoriums, and they ran for 38 years, from 1905 to 1943. 1943, Johnny. He even had a slogan, which was the "All the world loves babies," which I mean, I guess, yeah, sure. So
do you want to know what?
Come watch our premature babies.
I love babies. I love getting on old Instagram or whatever and just finding baby giggles and things like that.
This is where we differ, Johnny, because I could...
This is not a thing, though. It's not... I don't love looking at
premature
babies who may or may not die in the next week. I don't want that.
You want that?
I want happy baby giggles. Give me that.
I'm the opposite. I'm all about not looking at a baby ever. And not hearing baby giggles.
No, yep.
Not hearing, because I see baby and I go, that is a needy life form, and I'm too needy the way it is. I can't. I'm selfish. I can't. But anyways, we're getting off sidetrack.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. You're a bad dad. That's fine.
Again, I point out 1943, Johnny. So you might say, why did he need to run them that long? He ran them from 1905 to 1943. Well, that's because they were the only incubator clinics that existed in this country for the most part, because all medical facilities were like, meh. Send them home in a towel.
All right. So we had a, I don't want to say, I keep saying circus, and that's not accurate.
It's sort of. It's Coney Island.
We had an amusement park type entertainment, essentially, that was literally saving premature babies.
Yes.
Extending their life, saving many of them, I would imagine, allowing them to live long lives and everything else. And our doctors and nurses and everything else on the hospitals all around the country were looking at that and saying, nah, that's probably just a sideshow. I don't want to have that in my hospital, so we'll just let the babies die.
Yep. Well, there's two reasons for this, Johnny. I can explain this for two reasons. The first reason is that you ever remember reading or learning about eugenics?
Sure, a little bit.
Yeah, this is the time of eugenics, Johnny. This is where we believe that if you had a physical handicapped or mentally handicapped or born premature or born Jewish, you don't just get rid of them.
Christ.
Breed them out. So even in the United States,
what an exclamation point on that little bit.
I'm not wrong, Johnny. It's 1940.
No, I know. I get it. I know. Human beings are trash. I get it.
And this is even in the United States.
And so it was that. It was if you were born prematurely, it was God's plan for you to die in premature.
You were too weak, and if you didn't survive on your own, good luck to you. Too weak.
All right. Well, there it is.
And the other big reason is that any prominent physician discredited any work Cohen had did because, well, he wasn't a real doctor and just a sideshow host. Which, I mean, at least that one's sort of like, look, can we really take him serious because he's a sideshow host?
Yeah, no. Here's the thing for that. I don't care if the fucking janitor comes up and starts performing experiments. If they work. They fucking work. That's how science is.
Yeah.
If you have the data here to say, we've taken in hundreds and hundreds of preemie babies and we have saved 60% of them.
Oh, you're low on that one, Johnny.
Really? Even that? All right. So even at that, saying 60%, like, that's good science. That's what science is.
It doesn't help because they're also like, it's not a safe environment to have these kids at a sideshow, which it wasn't because one of those sideshow facilities did burn down. Yeah. Luckily, all the babies got out. We got all the babies out before,
That's astounding.
Which is astounding.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy, you know where a safe environment would be? Yeah. Yeah, the fucking hospital, Tommy, where they could have easily put these incubators and made them better, which I'm guessing they eventually did because we have incubators in hospitals now. But
in 1934, Johnny, Cohen tried to put critics to rest when he held a reunion to all the preemie babies that survived from 1933. He demonstrated that his sideshow was actually not just this sideshow, but a facility that actually saved human life.
He was like, hey, guess what? I made some money, sure, but also look at these people that exist because that I did that. Like, I'm saving lives here. I'm doing a thing.
He demonstrated that on average, he had a survival rate of 80%, which was well above and beyond anything, including what was at hospitals.
That's astounding.
And of the 58 babies that were treated in 1933 at his Coney Island facility, 41 survived and attended the reunion. So it's not just that only 41 survived. It's 41 survived and then attended the reunion.
And then acknowledge that, I'm alive because of this guy. So yes, sure, I'll go to your event.
Still, the medical industry was skeptical, and facilities became more and more expensive to run because 25 cents only gets you so far. As time goes on, costs go up. They become more and more expensive to run.
Yeah, you got to get up in that $10, $15 range.
Yeah, he starts shutting down these facilities. Every time that Coney County did shut down a facility, he tried to donate the incubators to local hospitals, all of which refused them. There's no record of him donating any of the incubators where the hospitals actually said, yes, sure, we'll take them in. No, they all refused and said, that's a hook, it won't work.
Would you like this life-saving device? Nah, says the hospital.
Yep.
We got it just fine. We have a 10% rate on survival for our preemies. We're doing great.
Now, it wasn't until Hess went on a PR campaign that for the medical industry that he's like, look, no, this like, trust me, I'm a real doctor. Here's my shit.
Yeah. Actually graduated.
These are all the kids that I have saved with these incubators with the help of Conan. And trust me, this does actually work. We might want to look into it. You pair that up with the whole World War II thing where, the Nazis were not looked so well with the whole eugenics thing. Yeah. That eugenics starts to lose favor. And by 1950...
people decided it wasn't so great to just start murdering people based on the way they were born?
Yeah, right. But unfortunately, Mr. Coney, he's going to die in 1950 and wasn't given any credit that he deserved for creating the incubator system and neonatal units and NICU and the whole idea of all that health that went with it in the United States. He was never given any credit of that, despite
shout
the
his
fact,
name again, Tommy. Who did it? Who did it?
Mr. County. I said Mr. County because he's not actually a doctor. Mr. County. So
Mr.
even though,
yeah, that's right, Mr. County. Thank him if you had a premature baby that was saved through some sort of incubator, because that's the start of
him.
it.
Yep. Now, even though by 1950, at his death, incubators became the mainstay in public hospitals, and even though they became the mainstay in public hospitals, no medical facility ever gave him the credit while he was alive, at least.
No.
This was all can't. It's a sideshow. Can't give him that idea.
You want to know why, Tommy? Because if they gave him that credit, if they said, "Oh, Mr. Coney did this," they would have to admit to years of neglect and malpractice for not adopting his system earlier.
Can't do that.
And good God, yeah, you cannot have that. Be like, hey, everybody who had a premature baby that came to our hospital, yeah, guess what? We could have saved you, but we didn't because we didn't believe this carnival side act guy, and now your baby's dead.
But if you, that's the story of our American Coney Island incubator babies. If you ever wonder why our American healthcare system is so bad, or you think it's something unique to today's age, nope, this has pretty much been a universal thing from the get-go.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about Donald Duck.